Good morning. On this episode of Divorce with Grandchildren, I'd like to point out some factors. First of all, exercise First Amendment rights by exposing the truth. Second of all, in the one video, y'all heard the Hagerstown Police Department mention the FBI's corruption, where I'm an Authorized United States magistrate on 18C2, concurrence of 12C869. Well, what's been going on is I did contact the Fugitive Task Force, and they did take a report where people was going to try to take and say I was faking my disability. You know, the FBI's actually took in and brainwashed my daughter, Christina, and God knows what else they told the girl, to where she's like making all kinds of slanderous allegations. But furthermore, the FBI also proved beyond a reasonable doubt that they are taking and paying people at 136 Broadway off the interest of my money at the addresses I listed, mind you, on LinkedIn. How did they do that? Because they took and noted it as a threat. Because it's a threat that I'm putting the truth out there. They're actually stealing my money, setting the interest to the side, and paying people on 136 Broadway off the money that Jerome Powell has in the Federal Reserve Bank in New York. And then this Dana Janelle, oh my gosh, she's still stalking me, opening up new accounts and stuff, and all kinds of crazy shit. You know, me and my fiance do without for our grandchildren. Oh, and QCI offered me a job. QCI is a mental health facility here in Hagerstown, if you're not unaware of it. Asked me if I wanted a job. Because they treated my fiance based upon my diagnosis of her. You know, I could say she had, well, I did. I said that she was bipolar, paranoid, schizophrenic, when that's not even her disability. Her disability is bipolar, manic depressive. But QCI, with their master's degrees in psychology, and I've only got an associate's degree in criminal justice. Well, they wanted to treat her for paranoid schizophrenia. There's your master's degree for you. This is a jewel, which I'm pretty sure you already know what it is. The fact of the matter is, you know, then our management was trying to charge us for extra cats. I'm like, no, it will hold up in the court of law. All our cats were approved when we moved in, because you have to list all your animals when you fill out the lease application. Now, just because you all have a clerical error does not mean you all can charge us for it. Oh, well, it doesn't matter if you fired that employee. It's still a fact. Megan's like, well, I'll let them know. No, let them know. We don't owe you that. Now, if you want to pay us the $2,500 we paid for this place, we'll gladly get another place. But yeah, I was pretty sure that flunking brainless idiots, because Homeland Security was dealing with them too. So, and you see, if none of my videos were true, then they could do something, but they can't. If I wasn't a judge, they could charge me. Even I've talked to other law. We already know you're an authorized judge. And yes, I did call the Fugitive Task Force and point that out to them. And the reason that the FBI is doing all this is because of the fact of the matter is they don't like the truth. So in this episode of Divorce with Grandchildren, we're going to talk about the truth. Dana Janelle commented on my Matthew one, where I shared this one of these videos, that I'm crazy. Well, if I'm crazy, why did a mental health facility offer me a job? You're the crazy one, thinking that you can get away with using federal resources and Federal Reserve money of mine to pay people. You're the crazy one stealing people's mail and having people in the buildings tamper with people's mail and steal people's mail again. That's the craziness. Which I did contact Amazon on that. But this is the flunking, brainless idiots, cowards of the country, FBI. Yeah. That's how they act. That's how they work. That's how they roll. They attack you from all corners, including bringing in your family. Even my mother-in-law is like, she suspects that I'm cheating. Excuse me. And ladies, sending me friend requests, it ain't gonna do any good because, sorry, I'm in so much pain. It doesn't work. Pain causes erectile dysfunction, in case y'all don't know that out there. It won't even get hard. Just to let you know. These are facts. Everything I do is God's will. And the FBI is challenging God. And God's no one to mess with. And if you don't believe in God, every time a child is born, it's by God's grace. Everything in this world is by God's will. And that's a fact. You ain't gonna get around that, FBI. God brought me back for justice and to let my children and grandchildren know that I love them. And whether my daughter wants to accept that or not, that's on her. But it's both of us that takes and helps out her and our grandchildren, not just my fiance. Because it's not just my money, it's not just her money, it's our money as one. So those are facts. But yeah, I mean, LinkedIn confirmed it because the FBI took and contacted LinkedIn and had them take down my wallpaper and restrict my account. Because I put out the addresses of the people by which they were paying at 136 Broadway off the interest of my money, mind you, to take and use LG Stylo 4 phones that was cloned of mine to take and prevent the truth and prevent me from putting this out there. They even went as far as have people threaten me like Mr. Don and even contact and made them do an inspection on things. Another way the FBI attacks is by having their little minions drop bed bugs and maggots on you. Oh, we're clean people. Oh, you're clean people, but you got bed bugs and maggots enough to where you can drop them down on your other neighbors in the neighborhood, right? You're real clean. I don't think that's clean. Now, I do plan to do an episode where I've got a co-star, but this here I'm just pointing out some facts. Fact of the matter is, in '93, John Brantley Wright decided he came out and told me, we're going to fabricate your record one charge at a time so it goes unnoticed. And he did, from '93 to 2008. In 2008, 2 men tried to kill me. Now, in 2011, I got out and I took the state's witness and victim to court and won. And the FBI wasn't having nothing to do with that, so they appealed it all 3 times. Then, in 2014, I won. Well, 2015, I get an attorney, Byron Craig Manford, attorney at law, to represent me on my clemency and compensation. Oh, in 2014, I graduated from Everest University as well. But again, this was all for education. The Department of Justice has actually been getting on the FBI about releasing my $9.5 million that Jerome Powell has in the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. So yeah, they've been throwing a little tissy fit about that because that's where they're creating these jobs. As far as Nicholas Edwards, I wonder if he knows that his his woman Ashley's been having all kinds of mad guys come by when he's not home and tagging that ass. Shit. I mean, it is what it is. Now, how are things with concurrence and all? Well, again, during this time that John Brantley Wright was doing all this, in 2008, he took the taxes on my property, 8050 Williamsport Pike, Mary J. Wright's estate, and placed it into, what's his name? John Evan Wright's name, a county commissioner in Berkeley County at the time. So that the taxes couldn't be paid, and so that they could sell back taxes to a Mark King. That's how. Now, after all that, and he had Gray Silvers III commit fraud, even on the unlawful assault. Hell, I didn't even sign those papers. They had me locked in a holding cell at the courthouse. Yeah, because I wanted to fire my attorney. And what'd they do? Well, they turned around and put my taxes in some and have my property sold. And who did he have do that? Christopher Wilkes. So again, John Brantley Wright used federal resources and money off the Federal Reserve Bank to coerce the state into committing fraud. Now, in 2016, I purchased a piece of property off Rosetta Elshire, 1151 Go-Away Road, Hedgesville, West Virginia, .89 Murphy lot. Well, after I cleaned it up and made it look real good, nasty whore, Cassie Marie Janelle, decided she wanted that property. But I was taking it from her. Her mom wasn't having nothing to do with that. And this was recorded at the Dollar Store in Hedgesville, where she also threatened to cut me up into little pieces. So how you gonna call me crazy, Dana, when you're the one talking about cutting people up into little pieces and making them disappear? You're the crazy one. You really need to see a psychiatrist. I mean, seriously. After all, y'all have sex with your own family up there. But yeah, I mean, let's look at the facts. And then, you know, how did she create a concurrence? She contacted Laura Faircloth and had Laura Faircloth commit fraud on the piece of property I purchased, because after a year, on a sale through DMV, they're issued that deed. But they chose not to. She chose to dismiss that case and move forward with Jose Cerrito's case, again, committing fraud. And then they even hung the jury on that case. So again, there was the concurrence. If Dana Janelle would never contacted Laura Faircloth or Bridget Cohee, there had never been a concurrence. There's your facts. Now, if you want to check, that's a matter of court record. And it's also a matter of West Virginia law. If you look at West Virginia law, Department of Motor Vehicles does handle sales of real estate less than 2 acres. But don't tell that to Dana Janelle. Oh no! Who contacted my inspector for fraud and waste of office. She actually is the answering service for the U.S. Marshals at the U.S. Northern District for West Virginia. She didn't like that one. So no, she's not an FBI, but she's a federal employee, like the one above me. So yeah, those are the facts. Fact of the matter is, Jim Justice, you need to be showing up with my clemency and compensation like we was discussing on Messenger, because this is not going away. You're going against God. You're challenging God's will. And that's a fact. You are challenging God. I'm in so much pain right now, it's unreal. But God gives me the strength to stand up. God gives me the strength to go on, because it's God's will. for justice. If y'all noticed all these mishaps, these people that the FBI's been recruiting, their cars blowing up and stuff, it's all God's will. God's very vengeful. And He'll get you one way or another. Don't challenge God. That's the wrong man to challenge. And my mother-in-law wants to talk about God. Yeah, talk about God. Because God brought me back as Matthew. And that's why I have 3 Facebooks. I mainly go by Matthew, as I was told to do when I was brought back. I risen on the 3rd day out of a coma, as Matthew did in the Bible. They didn't list him as comas back then. So let's talk about facts. Jim Justice, my fiance heard Kathy Justice admitting you owe me the $13.5 million in those 2 deeds, as well as the F-250 and everything else. Oh, I even got a thing from Publishers Clearinghouse. They're supposed to be showing up with a brand new BMW and $5,000 a week for the rest of my life. Let's see if that really happens. And let's see if Jim Justice shows up. After all this corruption in the public, and people really need to know the truth. No, Craig Stevens, I'm not crazy. If I was crazy, then QCI wouldn't have tried to treat someone for a disability I claimed that they had. If I was crazy, Hagerstown Social Security Office would not have agreed that, oh yeah, she's paranoid. She ain't paranoid and she ain't schizophrenic. Tyler Dunn is. So is Trust and Calm. They're paranoid schizophrenic. And this Jesse Spangler, he's really schizophrenic. He beat a woman up. Man don't beat on a woman. Anyone knows women and children are God's greatest gift to man. And these are all facts. Well, that's all for this episode of Divorce for Grandchildren. Next one I will have a co-star.